I'm Roisin Keown, founder and ECD at the Brill Building. So from college to where I am now, I suppose it wasn't a direct line. That tension between thinking I was going to study art and then ended up doing a more analytical course in English literature actually carried with me, that tension carried with me all the way. So I ended up hanging around the art college anyway with the NCD VisCom class, which would be actually a pathway to advertising for a lot of people, and kind of hanging around with your mates and having fun. And then I did music journalism for a dance music magazine, and then I travelled, worked in restaurants. All this time I was still friendly with that VisCom team. So I went back at 27 to DIT to do the MSc in advertising, and it was just the right time. I definitely advise anyone, you know, you've got till about 30 to figure it out. You know, you can always be a newbie up till 30. It gets a little bit more difficult to change lanes after that. So did that's a gateway into advertising. And then I tapped my mates and kind of basically insinuated myself into their building and got myself an internship. My first job in advertising ended up being my job in advertising for about 15 years. So I had two friends who were working in DDFH&B, Peter Snodden and Connor Swanton. And I was doing this advertising course and I needed work experience. So I rang Connor, who I knew, and I said, I need work experience, can you get me in? And can you talk to your creative director? And I put the phone down and I thought, he's never gonna talk to the creative director. So I called back and I called the creative director and I said, I'm not sure if Connor's wants me down to say to you, but can I come in? So I went in really for a week, and then I asked, could I come back one day a week and sort of hang around? And in the end, the creative director gave me a job. That was in June. He gave me a job in September, and he pretty much said that he didn't expect me to keep turning up because it's potentially a sort of embarrassing thing to do. And he thought that the tenacity stood for something. And at that point, I came back in, and my other friend, Peter, sort of took me under his wing, and we ended up being a creative partnership for 15 years. And we're still working together. And I rose through the ranks in there, I guess, or was helped on my way, and eventually became, from intern, head of creative. I run my own creative collective agency, so it's a new model of agency. I worked in, you know, a traditional agency for 15 years, was involved with the European Creative Council and had exposure to the global teams. And through that, I kind of understood a lot of the pressures that we were experiencing in advertising were very common around the world. And so I decided I wanted to try work in a slightly different way. So I set up the Brill Building, and now I work with my mates, and we work in a sort of more agile and looser way. We direct to client, taking it from strategy all the way through. So I work with Dan Henson, who was an NCAD, and Pete Snodden as well. So mates from college, and then a whole circle of collaborators and partners that we're lucky enough to work with. Well, the great thing about advertising is that there isn't an average day, and that's definitely the appeal of the job. I mean, in general terms, you could be filming or shooting or preparing a proposal or in a radio recording or meeting a new director or animator and seeing, you know, you get to work with amazingly talented people. That's what's brilliant about advertising, you know. Or you could be talking to your mates, you know, about the news while you're supposed to be working on the problem. So that you can work on a whole load of different things. I am a parent as well as an advertiser, so I have to schedule my day around that. So my day starts about 5 or 6, trying to get some headspace before the world begins, and then from about 9 till like 3 o'clock I'm on calls, and then I pick it up again about 9 o'clock in the evening. There's so much favourite work by other people. I was trying to think what I would pick. The Jay-Z Decode work by Droga 5 for Bing. You know, that was just, it was used every medium. It was experiential without, you know, people were just wandering through what the idea was. I absolutely love that work. Who inspires me? Well, in advertising terms, Susan Hoffman from Wyden & Kennedy created the man your man could smell like for Old Spice. Lauren LaFrance, who was my mentor in JWT and is now at VML Y&R, and she basically nurtures creativity through every stage. And then outside of advertising, Tracy Emin, the artist, and Roisin Murphy, because she made the name Roisin cool. What drives me? Cracking it, the buzz of cracking it, the adrenaline of actually like nailing it. You know, I think all creatives to a degree are addicted to the pat on the head. You know, nice idea, good presentation, you know, your mum likes it. Somebody in the pub actually mentioned it. That, and then be totally inspired by working with talented people. You know, you're working with a Shane Griffin, who's like one of the world's best motion graphics artists, or a Lorcan Finnegan, who makes amazing feature films, and you get to do all of that in advertising. I think probably my proudest moment is my dad understanding what I do. He used to always slag me, you know, if I was given out about work, to say, you know, you had a hard day making stuff up. But work-wise, you're proud every time that you create something good. Recently, I was really proud whenever the new agency and the team I work with, Dan Henson, Pete Snodden, Nicola Eagles, Ross O'Callaghan, we created the shop that nearly wasn't, which is the world's first shop 100% stocked and staffed by cancer survivors for an amazing organisation called Breakthrough Cancer Research. So to pull that off with a team of friends for a client that we'd begun the journey by devising the creative strategy right through to something that like went around the world as a new original idea was really fulfilling.